You're playing the wrong message.
Welcome to Southern Creator Channel. My name is Alan, and yes, I did trim the old beard a little bit here, so I know I look a little different. Today, we're going to be making some more changes to one of our initial buildings. Let's have a look at what I'm doing. Before we get into the buildings, I wanted to show you this Torii gate here. I actually had it in here last week at the tail end of the video, but I didn't say anything about it. I wanted to go ahead and spend some time on it this time. I think we've done okay with the color combo here, the red and black up front. This will be down here in kind of the market area, and then straight up, so I get in here, straight up the stairs to the Fortress Monastery from the Torii gate. I think that looks just fine. It's turning out the way I wanted it to. Then over here, of course, we've built this one. I have had this one under construction. Finally got enough up to want to talk about it. My kids made that door. That's why it's not exactly in there very well, but we'll be fixing the door. Anyway, so you can see that I've kind of taken the same building style or pattern. I like seeing these beams in between the slightly offset walls. I like that for some reason. I see a lot of Asian style, especially Japanese, Korean type buildings. They're East Asia, have that style in them. I like that. I didn't do it on this first building. I somewhat did it on this one, but that's the point I was wanting to get at. This thing right here has been bothering me for a while, this building. We had already changed, and I'm not done with these, but we had already changed from a receding roof line to one that's even all the way down and using black instead of all tan. But I'm still not satisfied with this because we need to talk about the overall theme and motif. I was speaking with Ed at Slipstream, and I was telling him I didn't like how this particular building looked. And it's because of the comparison with the rest of this. This to me is acceptable. These two are acceptable to me, but this one doesn't feel like it fits the motif of this town. This is going to be the citadel. The monastery fortress is the oldest part of the town. That's why you see some of this, what looks to be somewhat more medieval construction. That works for me just fine. These work and this works, but this one here, it looks a little too new or too futuristic. Yes, this is Star Wars, but this is, it needs to be homogenous. This town needs to be, you can still have Star Wars, but have towns look the same. So Ed was telling me, he says, what do you think of when you think of Mos Eisley? And I said, well, 10 buildings, dome tops, and junkyard parts all over the place, because it's kind of a rundown, scum and villainy type place. And he says, exactly. You know Mos Eisley when you see it because everything is homogenous. You see the buildings all look like they have the same theme. So, okay, and speaking of Mos Eisley, there we go with the cantina back there. So, kind of proves his point, proves mine. So, I was looking at this building, and it just doesn't look like it fits. Even though, the and I hadn't put the ultimate roof on top yet, but I was looking at this, and it just doesn't look like it fits. It looks too new, or it looks out of place. Like these windows look like something I would feel like I would see on, Coruscant or something, on a lower end apartment complex in Coruscant. It just doesn't look like it fits here. I don't think the sand blue really works mixed with the tan. I just don't think. I think it works fine over here with the black. I think the black's a much better contrast color. I just don't think it works with this tan. So I am going to have to redo some of this. Now, luckily, because this is built a certain particular way, I can just pop these walls right out, and I can pop these windows right out and redo something else. So we're probably going to make some big changes on it, not in this video, but that thing's marked. I want to change some stuff on there because I want this to look like it all matches, like it was all built by the same people in the same general era. Minus, of course, the much older Fortress Monastery towards the back of the town up the mountainside. Okay, let's get into this building here. So I'm not building a wall between these two because I won't need to. I'm going to have a roof right here, okay? So really I only need to cover up roughly from here up. And I've been working on a few things. So this is a Star Wars build, first and foremost, of course. So I've started wanting to go ahead and get my mind around having, you know, some things that show that this is Star Wars. This isn't actually Japan or Korea or China. This is Star Wars. So we do need to start getting some things in here that show us that this is a Star Wars town with an Asian theme rather than Asia itself. All right, so there's some little, you know, air conditioner or generator, and you gotta always have those little things. And then next, I went ahead and I made a sign for this place. All right, there you go. Some nice Arabesh there. I always like making Lego Arabesh. I think it's such a nice thing to see on the side of a building. So let's see if I can do this one-handed. I probably can't. I'll give it the old college try here. Let's see. So you can see how I've got this right there, some modified bricks. All right, and I'll lightly give this thing a push. And I broke it. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I should know better. I've been doing Lego for 30-something years. There is no such thing as lightly push. You gotta have your hand on the back side of it over there. So there we go. So now we've got our first Arabesh sign in town, and I think it's fair. I actually had this considerably bigger. I think I had it like 6 studs out, and it was just way too big. It dominated the entire street because I want to have other things here too. You know, some clotheslines or, you know, flags or lanterns, you know, and maybe another sign. So this thing was too domineering, but I went ahead and I was able to shorten it, make it a little more narrow. But there we are. I really do need to start thinking about getting some roofs on these things. I did this one, of course, and I'm actually going to need to, while we're on the topic of renovations, you notice I've been picking these things off as I need them for various areas. I'm going to be redoing from, so these two I'll leave alone because I need to have that curve there. All the rest of this will be, I will have tile, like flat tile, because I have a good number of cheese slopes, but I don't have enough to do all of these buildings. So I will be redoing these slightly so that I have enough to be able to complete these roofs. I need them. This is going to have to be a very nice roof, and then these over here. And we will probably have one more building here and one more building here. And then we might have up here, and we've still got another side to do of this Fortress Monastery, but over here in this section, we might have some kind of a tower, something like that, that'll need a roof as well. So anyway, we've got a couple, at least 3 more buildings, so we'll have to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at least, maybe 7, 6 or 7 buildings that I need roofs for that are going to be very similar to this. Anyway, there's where we're at for this week's video. Yeah, you may be wondering why I kind of cut off there. It's because Bella had to walk in here, and she got, you know, she's got no manners. She's got to come in here and drink her water. So anyway, yeah, that's where we're at with this right now. I might find 1 or 2 more things that we can, and off she goes. We might find 1 or 2 more things to put in the video this week. I think this is a bit short, so let's go ahead and find a couple more things. Maybe do some more walls or something over here. Stay tuned. I'm really glad that I decided to keep working a little bit more on this today for this episode. My son, who's 8, came in here, and he saw me working on the roof to one of these buildings here, and I was kind of stumped, trying to figure out how to put it on. And I had tried the method I'd used before in the very first building we made, and I just couldn't get the roof plates to hang correctly. I just couldn't get it right. And he kept telling me, Daddy, I know how to do it. I know how to do it. And I must admit, it's easy when you're older and your children there, that your children say, hey, I want to do this. Daddy, let me do this. And, it's one of those things you're like, yeah, good job, son, good job. But in reality, sometimes children can surprise you. And my son surprised me. What he's done is going to stay in this mop, and I'm going to replicate it on everything else I do. So I'm sitting here, and I made these things. I'm gonna go ahead and show you now. So I put together these roof plates, just like we did over here. Except, like I said, the hanging it on here on the roof here was not going to work very well. So my son, he said, well, Dad, why don't you just use some hinges? And I was like, look, that's not really going to work. It's going to leave a big gap. He said, no, trust me, go ahead and put them on. So I did, and I just entertained him, not really thinking it was going to go anywhere. That's, shame on me. Shame on me, but I let him do it. So he says, look, Daddy, it just, sits on there very well. It looks just right. And I said, well, that's great and all, son, but, there's this big gap here, and I don't want this big gap. Over here, there's not much of a gap, but it's accidental just because the geometry works out. And he said, no, I've got a plan for that too. So he goes and he gets our bucket of one stud cylinders, and he starts building away. I realized instantly what he was doing. I don't even know where he's seen this before. I didn't tell him how to do this. And he goes and puts these together, and he caps it off with a one stud tile here. And he goes and he sets this thing right here, and voila. And I look at this, and it's so aesthetically pleasing. Now, obviously, we're not done. We're going to tile this off too, but I realized he had envisioned this. I'm sitting here for an hour trying to figure this out, and he had already envisioned how to do it. He worked it out in his mind, and it took him asking me 3 or 4 or 5 times, Daddy, please let me do this. Let me show you what I've got. And shame on me for not listening to him sooner and for discounting his input. 8 years old, he developed this out of his own mind. I don't think he saw this anywhere. It just came to him. Brilliant. This is just brilliant. I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of him for speaking up and insisting upon it and coming up with this. This is staying. This is going to be what we do, not only for this, but for this one. I'm actually going to go back to this one here as well and redo this with his method, because it's perfect. It's perfect. So anyway, I just wanted to conclude this week's video with this masterpiece right here. I'm just so proud of him for thinking this up and helping me out. Anyway, I told him that I was so proud of him, and I was going to put this on YouTube and talk about it on his behalf. So there, I've done that. This is just great. I'm so proud of him. Anyway, I hope you like it too, as much as I do. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.